So, hello and welcome again to another episode of Exploring Parks in VR. You join me stood here on top of the world's tallest roller coaster, Kingdom Car. And I'm here to show you one other cool feature that Google Earth has. If we look at my hand here, we have a little ball. That becomes a slightly bigger ball when I point at it. Now, to demonstrate this well, if I go down to ground level here, you can look up at Kingdom Car over there, and we look at this, that looks quite familiar, doesn't it? But then if we take this and stick it over our head, it actually puts us in this position, and we can look around with real-world photographs of where we are, and we can even explore a little bit as well. And then we can take this off again, and there we are back in the 3D world of Google Maps.
So why is this particularly interesting? Well, what I'm going to do is show you a few places around the world which have sights and things that you can no longer see.
So let's quickly zoom around Nitro here before heading back up and going to Japan. So the park we're going to here is one I never actually got the chance to visit, which is a bit of a shame, but it's nonetheless very interesting in Google Earth. If we come in here, what I'm about to show you may not look all that interesting at first glance. In fact, this looks almost like a building site, which is sadly because that's what it is. This is the old Space World Park from Japan, and if we come in here we look, we can see what appears to be coaster track here, and more of it here. And in fact, the last remaining bit that's possibly still standing is a bit over here. But what is this place? Well, going back to this, we can actually get a look back into what this place used to be. And this is Space World in Japan. We see that building right there, fading back into this building site, which is kind of sad.
This was an Arrow hypercoaster called Titan Max, which was the park's signature ride.
And it's nice to just have a chance to visit these places that otherwise it would be impossible to visit. Again, going over here we can see they've got another coaster, which is actually a clone of Stealth at Thorpe Park. But we can get an idea of what it looked like back in the day, before it was removed. Similarly, there is another really cool looking coaster that they had at this park. If we come over here, we can see the remnants of it here with this green track and these strange two cylindrical spots. Because if we look here,
this used to be a coaster called Venus GP, which was a unique Maurer custom looping coaster.
but we can wander around and have a look at this amazing looking coaster. It's a real shame that this park closed, especially before I had the chance to visit it, and it looks pretty amazing. But it is still good that it can still, at least in some way, still be explored in VR. Fortunately, the park story of the coasters doesn't quite end there, as they have been saved, some of them at least, as they're being moved to other parks in Japan. But yeah, this was a park that I will never visit, which is kind of sad, but as I said, you can still get a feel for what it was like in VR, which is something at least. And because this is making me kind of sad, let's move to somewhere that's possibly the happiest place on Earth. For a start, let's just scoot back here, and we can already get an idea of where we might be given a slightly murky looking lake. But let's skip past that a bit and we can see massive car parks, because of course we are heading to the Magic Kingdom to say hello to Mickey. Now sadly, at this time of year I was hoping to actually visit Florida, but that looks like it's not going to happen. But we can visit the Disney at another time of year, for it seems that the park footage from here was taken round about Christmas. So everything is decked up in Christmas garb. And of course we can come to the famous Cinderella Castle and have a look around it. Now, one thing I think is actually quite interesting is getting the view of Disney that you're not meant to get. Again, if we go down to ground floor and then pop our VR helmet on, we can look around. Everything you see has like every sort of sight line taken into account. Like, you can't see any of the backstage things, but with VR you can, and it's quite surprising to see just the shocking difference between all the well-themed front facades and the industrial structure behind Disney. We have massive show buildings for all the different rides. We have the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which looks great, even from above. And we have a big old construction site here, which I'm not entirely sure what they're building. I guess time will tell as we head over Space Mountain. But of course, there isn't just one Disney park in Florida. There is no less than 4. So let's go to another one of them. We can guess where they are, judging by giant car parks. We can have a look around, because this is of course EPCOT, the experimental prototype city of tomorrow. And it's a beautiful park, even from the air. And again, looks like it's at Christmas. It's possibly not the most interesting one to see from the air. But again, you can get a really quite interesting look at the back scenes, behind the scenes area of Disney. Again, you've got this wonderfully themed facade and this bleak grey building behind it. It really is quite the contrast. So that's 2 out of the 3 Disney parks. So what do we have over here? Let's head to another one. Again, you can just see really interesting stuff like, ooh, is this Disney's personal quarry? Quite possibly. Is it the site of a new park? Maybe. Again, they couldn't resist putting another hidden Mickey in. Which is kind of cool, I guess. Continuing round, let's find some more of the Disney parks, because here we can come in and find Disney's Hollywood Studios with the famous Tower of Terror. Which is probably one of my favourite Disney rides. And again, a little bit of hidden bits. We've got the main street, which should take us along. Again, we appear to be at Christmas time. Chinese theatre. But one of the more interesting bits here is this here, which is the Star Wars land, which is under construction at this time in the map, which is really kind of cool to see how it's shaping up. Now, I've not been to this place yet, but I do really want to. But even still, you can get an idea of what it's like. I mean, that looks like a speeder. That, obviously the Millennium Falcon. But it's really kind of neat. So continuing, there's also another bit I'd love to show, if I can find it. But what I want to go to is that over there. As we're heading to the largest of the Disney parks, which is of course Animal Kingdom. So the centerpiece of Animal Kingdom is this amazing tree of life, which doesn't quite get the justice it's deserved in Google Earth. But if we look here, you get a much nicer view in that you can again see all these things are like little animals carved out into it. It's really quite fantastic. But the best ride at Animal Kingdom is of course this amazing looking one here, Expedition Everest, which I believe is the most expensive roller coaster in the world when you take into account theming and the like. Let's just see if we can get a view on the ground here. It looks absolutely stunning. You've got this drop that comes round. It's an amazing coaster. so well themed. But the theming isn't entirely great. Because we can again have a sneaky look round the back. Which is kind of weird. You've got this mountain and then it's stuck onto a warehouse. It does go to show like the thought that goes into the Disney parks and what you get with them. So let's say goodbye to Disney for just now and head to another famous park in Florida. Let's start with a quick zoom past the latest addition to the Universal Parks, which is of course Volcano Bay, which looks pretty stunning. But one of the main reasons I want to go here is to visit Islands of Adventure, because there's two really interesting historical aspects of this. So here we have the incredible Hulk coaster, but if we go back down to ground level and again we have a look, something's missing here, which is the entire rest of the coaster. Because this is quite an interesting thing in that Universal Parks, Universal Studios is open nearly all year round, and the roller coasters run like lots of hours. And everything in life, roller coasters have lifespans, and the track of this one exceeded its essentially. So rather than getting a new coaster or removing it, what they actually did was replace the entire track, piece by piece, bit for bit. Which does raise a question, is it a new roller coaster? I think it's up to yourself if you want to count it. It's a really good fun one though. Continuing round our way of Universal though, we can come into this, of course, very famous section. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And of course we have Hogwarts right ahead. Again, this is home to Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. And it's quite fun to have a look around the back of this thing and just see how huge an area it takes up. All this is the dark ride. You think you're going into this castle in Hogwarts, but no, you're into this building. It's quite cool. Equally cool is that right here we have under construction Hagrid's motorbike coaster, or whatever they seem to be calling it. But if we go down to ground level, that's not what we see, because what we actually see is the inside of a gift shop, which wasn't what I was looking for. So let's skip buying our merchandise and instead, let's get a look from over here. We have dueling dragons. Or Dragon Challenge as it's known, which was removed to make way for this Harry Potter coaster. And again, if we go down here we can get some really nice views of it. Now this was a coaster I was fortunate enough to ride. It was really good fun. I never got to ride it when it actually duelled, as there were issues behind that. But here it is, you can still get an idea of what this coaster was like back in the day, before it became Hagrid. One final interesting thing I'd like to show as well though, is if we look here, a bit blurry, but in reality this is the Hogwarts Express, which is a train that takes you between the two Universal parks. And we can have a sneaky look at it. So we have the Hogwarts Express here. We can actually follow the track that it goes on, so it completely leaves behind any sense of theming as it goes across. We have a changeover track here where trains in each direction go past each other. And it arrives into the other Universal ride, Gringotts. And again, you get an idea of the size of the buildings that are involved in making these coasters and the little bits of theming that they go into it, with the facades. And of course we've got the rest of Universal Studios, Men in Black, Simpsons Ride, Former Jaws, Transformers, and again this all seems to have been done round about Christmas. And of course we have Mid-Course Brake Run the ride. I think we will leave Universal behind here, but stay in Florida because there's one other park that I think it really needs to be shown. It's a little bit further because of course we are going to Tampa and we're going to Busch Gardens. This is probably my favourite park in Florida. So let's head in and check out this park. First up we have 1-2, which is a great coaster. It's a really fantastic B&M invert. We also have lots of space for like the safari type part of the ride with lots of animals. And continuing round we have the other giant coasters they have here. So Kumba, Shikra, and of course this massive wooden coaster here, which I never got to ride. So this is Gwazi, which looks very different now than what you'll find. So this coaster is the latest one to get an RMC conversion, and I was hoping to ride it round about this time of year if it weren't for the current global situation. Photos I've seen though make it look very, very different to how it looks here. But here's hoping, if not this year, maybe next year I'll get to ride the RMC version of this Iron Gwazi. But for now, I think that's a nice little quick look at a few other really interesting historical places. For now, I've been Rollercoaster David, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again in another video very soon.